Game 3. This is 1200 rated daily chess. I'm playing against the same opponent as the other games. Knowing my opponent likes to play the Caro-Kann defense, personally hating playing the white's role in Caro-Kann. I like playing Caro-Kann as black, but not playing against it. Playing against Caro-Kann just feels you have no initiative, and it just feels like you're playing their game. Feels like it's a Caro-Kann game. So Caro-Kann starts with the e4, king's pawn opening. And the idea is, and this is what happened in the game, is to push, develops naturally, is to just attack this with the pawns in whatever way. So in the actual game itself, we'll just walk through this starts as the main line of the Caro-Kann. Play d4, c6, and then this is the book move to play against Caro-Kann. I already know he's going to play the queen's pawn. Yeah. We play the knight. We had a very similar game like this where I played standard, and then the book move is to take with the knight. And then the first game we had played against each other. We played exactly this opening. And then from this position in the first game, I took the knight. Did I take the knight? I believe I did. And then, yeah, and then forced him to have a double pawn structure. It is what it is. It's not necessarily bad for black. You move the pawn, but it gives they wanted to move that pawn to get the bishop out so they can castle short side. Not the best. My knight is in the middle. I don't want to have to move that twice. So you take the bishop. Today we had decided to try the Alien Gambit. Now the Alien Gambit is something I'd been looking up as an answer to Caro-Kann. So the Alien Gambit has come out this position. Instead of taking the knight or removing the knight by moving to a safer position like c3 or g3, we decide to move the knight to g5. Now the idea of the Alien Gambit, most common move here is supposedly, I'm talking like an expert, this is what I've heard on the video, is to push the pawn up. And they're looking at you like, why did you move your knight here? That's the idea. Anyone would be like, it doesn't seem like a good idea. So he didn't actually do that. He just moved his bishop out, which not going as planned in terms of the video, but it shouldn't make a difference. Here I was deciding whether I'm already intending to take this pawn with the knight. Now it's a case of, well, we don't have to do that yet. Usually they push the pawn to this position and they threaten the knight, and you just go straight into the Alien Gambit from there. But I thought maybe we have a chance to develop the other knights or the bishop. Now the bishop wouldn't have been the best idea. He could have blocked that with the pawn anyway, and we're just giving him time. The idea is we want to sacrifice this knight, which we did. Hang on. You get an alert and it forces the game to reset. So sacrifice the knight, which forces the opponent to take the knight with his king. Now we're simply down 2 points. We're down a knight from this position, but he is in a very compromised position. We can check with the bishop at any point. We can't check with the queen because of the opponent's knight, but we actually have quite a nice little outpost here for the knight. So we get the knight moving first, with the intention of moving the bishop out. So he blunders here. This is covered in the video I watched of Gotham Chess teaching the Alien Gambit, and apparently this is a very common blunder. And you would think, oh, you're pinning the knight to the queen, but the plan is still the same. You can check with the knight. Now because the knight isn't threatened, he can't take that, can't be blocked, and he's forced to move the king. But this knight is now attacking the bishop that is only defended by the knight, but I also had the queen here. So he's forced to move the king back. We take the bishop, and now we're ahead by a pawn, and ahead by quite an important pawn. This pawn is making the king look very vulnerable. We've forced the opponent to move the king, so he can never now even castle. So the king is in the middle of the board and has a vulnerability of having no pawn on either side. So quite a good position. So he develops the knight here. I think he wants me to trade with that knight. I have no reason to. While the queen is here, that knight is still protected. So we just decide to move the bishop out. So this file is still threatening to their king. We still have the option of moving back to that outpost. Obviously now he can trade that, but that is an option. If we were to say to do that, I'm not sure what his next move would be. It would be like maybe to push the bishop back. I don't know. If we say we did this, no, if we said we're going to move the knight to this outpost, he's got the option to trade that, and I'm sure he would in this position, because this, otherwise that pawn isn't even protected, and this is a nasty fork. So he would be forced to take this, and then we're in this position now. I think in this position he would be quite happy to trade queens, because it would stop me being able to castle. But obviously, yeah, I mean, you'd do it not this way. You would take the king, and then this is starting to look better for black, right? So we're not going to do that sequence of steps. What we might have a look at is to just straight away castle now. I think the idea, whatever the opponent's move is now, he doesn't particularly have a great move from here. You don't really want to move that pawn out. I suppose you can start doing this kind of thing and force the trade. I'm not sure we do the outpost idea here. No, we don't. I think if he was to force the knight away, I think we would trade like this. I think that would be the play. Obviously, he's still looking at that pawn with his queen, but we just want the opportunity to castle here, because we want the castle on this E column, looking at that pawn right ahead. And then we have options of moving the queen out this way, and even the bishop. But yeah, quite an interesting opening. I actually really getting into the gambits. I like the more aggressive, it's more fun style. It would have been more of an interesting game if you didn't just immediately blunder a piece and we had to play from a piece behind, but a positional advantage instead of both. But that's the way it goes, isn't it? It's a very uncommon position to be in, and he's probably never played against it. The thing with this kind of rating, 1200, it's the kind of rating where people have one or two openings and they're kind of comfortable with those openings and maybe some variations on that. But if you play something they've never seen before, they play a lot worse. The adaptability probably isn't there. 1000 rated and lower, I think there's kind of openings even then sometimes, but people just fundamentally blunder stuff. Here it's like you still have to work for it. You still have to work. They're not just going to throw a piece out unguarded, but this unfamiliarity causes this kind of this type of blunder, where he's not necessarily throwing a bishop out that can just be immediately taken. That's not guarded, but this is obviously not thought about that position. You just assume that's pinned, which is a natural thing. I wouldn't hold it against him. It's a natural assumption, because obviously you just think, oh, they can't move that. You take the queen, but you didn't see you could move it into check. Could have even moved to that square. Didn't matter. But yeah, it does matter actually, because that square wouldn't have threatened the bishop. So yeah, here we are. And I think this now becomes a bit more of a positional game. We want to get castled quickly and get the castle into play, because I'm never really played this against a human. I played against a bot as the alien gambit, So I don't really know how it goes from here. What the moves are, I think the gambit is essentially over. We've gained our positional advantage, so now we just need to play out the game. I don't think there's any more traps from this position, particularly.